Property acquisition is a major life investment. For many, it's a once-in-a-lifetime decision, but without the right guidance and information, it might lead to costly mistakes involving huge financial losses and long legal battles. Some of these issues can, however, be avoided if you engage the right professionals right from the beginning of your property acquisition journey. So, what I want to do in this video is to walk you through some key professionals you would need when acquiring property in Ghana. So, stay tuned. Before that, let's have a brief discussion on common ways to acquire property in Ghana. So in Ghana, I'll say there are three major ways or three options to acquire property. So there's the first option where people buy already developed property or a completed house. So this can either be a new house or a pre-owned building. And there are several reasons people go for this option. So for some, is to avoid all the litigation issues associated with their land or undeveloped land. In Ghana, land is much more prone to litigation issues compared to completed houses. And so to avoid all such issues, land guard threats, multiple sales, they rather buy a completed house. For others, they want to avoid all the construction related stress that comes with building a property. And even for others, is the most viable option for them because they want to live in a high class neighborhood where land is unavailable or it's scarce. So the second option of acquiring property is to buy land and gradually build your choice of property on the land. So for this option too, the reasons may include financial constraints. So where for such people, it's manageable to buy land now and build later. For others, they want to have control over the design and the layout of their building or property. Buildings or a house built by someone else might not meet their taste and preference in terms of the design. So they rather buy land and build their own type of property in a design that meets their taste and preference. Perhaps they want to build a big house or a mansion. Then there are those who buy land for commercial purposes or as an investment strategy, such as land banking. Then there's a third option to acquire property, which is they buy an old existing building, demolish it, and build their own type of property on their land. So this option combines the benefits of the first two options. So the option you choose or the route you take will depend on your personal circumstances, including your budget and how you plan to finance your project. But know that each option has its own associated risks. And so engaging the right professionals can reduce some of these risks and save you from all future stress. So the property acquisition journey begins the moment you spot a house or a land that you wish to acquire, either through an advert or through a referral. So the first thing you should do is to visit the site, or you can ask a trusted person to do so on your behalf. On your site visits, try to speak to neighbors to gather insights on ownership history and any possible disputes on the land or property. You can also observe the environment carefully to spot any red flags. You should also be wary of flood risks in the neighborhood and any security concerns. You should, however, treat the information you gather on site with a little bit of caution, especially those you get from neighbors. People talk. But once you are satisfied or comfortable with the site visit, the next thing to do is to hire a lawyer. Property acquisition and ownership is a legal process, and so having a lawyer guide you through the process can be helpful. So what would a lawyer do for you? So for the very start, the lawyer can provide legal advice, if there's any, on the information you gathered on site. That's if you are able to gather any useful information. The lawyer can also do the necessary due diligence to verify the ownership and legitimacy of the land or property you wish to acquire. The lawyer will also review and draft relevant documents such as the indenture and lease agreement, and also interprets the clauses in there for you so that you know what you are entering into. The lawyer can also do some form of negotiations on your behalf. The unfortunate thing about legal services in Ghana is that they can be very costly, especially for the average person acquiring a low value property. The lawyers often have their targeted clientele, and so if the value of your property does not meet a certain threshold, the lawyer might not show interest. So if you can't afford a lawyer, these are some of the things you may consider. So in Ghana, we have customary land secretariats. They manage customary lands, stool lands, family lands, and all that. They often have standard indenture templates. They are well written, thoroughly written, and you can rely on that. They are accepted for registration and all that, and they are very valid. We also have estate developers who sell plots and homes. They often do the necessary due diligence before they sell these lands or homes, and so you can also rely on them. Then we have real estate agents who do the necessary due diligence before they advertise a property, the genuine real estate agents, and so you can also rely on them. So note the real estate agents and the real estate developers. I'll speak more about them later on in this video, but also know that with the right information you can find your way around some of these verification and legitimacy processes, and that's what this video is about. So after, the next professional you should think of or you should consider is the land surveyor. In my view, the land surveyor is the most crucial professional when it comes to acquiring land in Ghana. So what will the land surveyor do for you? So there's a document known as a site plan. It's like a representation of the land or property on a document or in a piece of paper. So if the seller or the owner of the property provides a site plan, the land surveyor can verify if the site plan matches the land you've been shown. If no site plan was provided, then the land surveyor can prepare one for you. Also, there's a special site of site plan called the barcode site plan. It's like a site plan with more security features, and it's required for registration. So in the instance you want to register your land or property, then the land surveyor will prepare the barcode site plan for you. Once you have your site plan, then the next thing to do is to conduct a search at the Lands Commission, an official search at the Lands Commission. So the search will show the current ownership, to review the current ownership of the land, whether it's a state land, allodial title, freehold, leasehold. It will show all that. The search report will also show if any land certificate has been issued under the property or the land. The search report will also show past transactions on the land or property. Mind you, if the past transactions will show if they were registered with the Lands Commission. So past transactions which were not registered will not show on the search report. Also, the search report might not show if the land is a subject matter of any litigation issue. So what some of the lawyers do is to conduct a court search to find out if the land or property is a subject matter of any litigation in court. And even if you don't have a lawyer, you can conduct such search by yourself at a court. So by the time you are doing the search, by that time you should know the offer price of the property, how much the property is going for. So if it's a high value property you are acquiring, it's important to negotiate. Then the next professional you should think of is a valuer. So a valuer can assess the market value of the property to ensure that you don't overpay for the property or land, especially if it's a high value property that you have to negotiate. The valuer's reports can help with your negotiations. Also, the valuer can provide insights on commercial viability or the investment potential of a land or property you wish to acquire, especially if you are acquiring it for commercial purposes. So once you are satisfied with the price and the ownership, the next thing is to make payments so that the ownership can be transferred to you. So after payment, you get an indenture or a lease agreement, and that's what actually effects the transfer of ownership. So once you have your indenture, which is supposed to be signed by both parties to make it valid, it means that you own the land now. And so as a first step, it's very advisable to take possession immediately once you have your indenture. So what people do is to erect a simple fence wall, or some people even go further to build a basic room for a caretaker. So what does the fence wall does for you is to secure your boundaries. It secures the boundaries, but more importantly too, it exposes any hidden interest in the land. In Ghana, once you begin to build, all manner of people uh, appear to claim the land. And so once you begin any form of construction, you should expect people to appear to claim the land. Remember, past transactions on the property does not appear in the search report, and so there's an opportunity to find out if there are any such people. So it is important for some of these issues to arise at the very beginning, when you've just made payment, so that it can be easily resolved. At that time you still have leverage because you are still in contact with the seller or the owner, and so it's easier to resolve some of these issues at that stage. So what even people do as a mitigating strategy is to negotiate for staged payment, or payment in installments, where they pay an initial amount now, wait for a later date, to after a safe period, to pay the balance. So in between that time, you can test the land by erecting a fence wall to know if people will appear. So once you have your indenture to there, you should also be thinking of registering your land. So the registration is the final legal step that truly affirms your ownership on the land. The indenture is not enough, even though it transfers the ownership to you. It's just an agreement between you and the seller. The registration is what actually affirms your ownership to the land. The registration, however, takes time. It takes a period of 6 months to 12 months typically, but it can even exceed a year. And that is why it's important to take possession immediately you have your indenture. So the registration and the taking of possession by erecting a fence wall should happen simultaneously. So once the registration is complete, it means that your claim to the land is firm, or your ownership has been affirmed. So now let's spend a little bit of time to talk about real estate agents or brokers and real estate developers. So there's a slight difference, or a technical difference, between a real estate agent and real estate brokers, but I won't bore you with all that. For the purpose of this video and for simplicity's sake, I'll just use the terminology real estate agent because it's the most common terminology. So buying through the network of a real estate agent can be very advantageous to you, because they conduct the necessary due diligence before they list the property, and even if they don't, they can guide you through the process of acquisition in terms of the documentation and the registration and all that. Some of these real estate agents are lawyers and valuers, and so it adds a layer of expertise to the entire process. The downside about real estate agency in Ghana is that the legal framework is supposed to guide or regulate the profession, or the practice is not very well developed. So you often find unethical agents or fraudulent agents flood the market, so you should beware of them. The real estate agents, the genuine ones, can even help you with your negotiations. Remember of the staged payment I spoke of. So they can help you in that regard. They can also help you with the documentation and registration, as I said. Then we have real estate developers. So these are businessmen. They buy large tracts of land, divide them into plots, and sell. Sometimes they even develop homes and sell. So it is safe to buy from them, because by the time you are buying, the land or the home is already in their name, and so it becomes safe to buy from them. So it helps in the documentation and all that. And it's even safer to buy a house or a home from a real estate developer, because all the groundwork has already been done. But for land, you should still be careful, because I've actually seen real estate developers who sell illegitimate land to people, so you should still do your checks and be careful. So real estate developers and real estate agents are important players in the real estate space or property market in Ghana, and so you can rely on them and take advantage of their services to have a safe, a secure acquisition process. I wouldn't say real estate agents are substitutes for a lawyer, but buying through the network of a real estate agent can be as secure as being guided by a lawyer to acquire property. And even for those who can afford, you often see them use both a real estate agent and a lawyer. So all the professionals I've spoken of up to now, the lawyer, the real estate agent, the land surveyor, they can help make your property acquisition journey smooth and secure. But depending on your circumstance, you might not engage all of these professionals. But trying to skip professionals with the intention of saving costs or saving money might seem like a wise investment now, but it might come at a greater loss in the future. So if up until now the property you acquired is a developed property, an already developed property, a completed house, then your next move is to furnish the property and move in or occupy the property. If it's a land or it's an old building you wish to collapse and redevelop, then the next thing is to plan your construction. So I'll end this video here for now. I'll create a part 2, and in a part 2 I'll cover the professionals you need to bring your construction to life. So if you learned anything from this video, kindly like and share to others you know will be interested in this topic. Also subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions or experiences to share, you can leave them in the comment section and I'll be happy to respond. Thank you for watching.